Good morning and welcome to today's Coffee and Connect Live with Larry and Gloria Lundstrom. Thank you for bearing with us as we had a little bit of a technical difficulty getting going this morning, but we're here now, so thank you. Now, I know that I am so excited to hear more of Larry and Gloria's story of 55 years of marriage and ministry. And we have a little treat for you that we think you'll really enjoy. But before we get going, if you could please take a moment to put in the comments the city and state that you are joining us from. We just absolutely love hearing from you. So, Larry and Gloria, happy early 55th anniversary.
It's a beautiful day out there today, just like it was on our wedding day.
Really,
Yeah.
it was. It's
Yeah.
just a beautiful sunshine fall day. Oh, colors are just.
It's unbelievable to think 55 years together. This would be 30. Now we've been 38 years in our ministry.
That's hard.
Wow.
And you've been on the road. Well, you've been on the road.
Well, this next May will be 60 years.
60 years. That is hard to believe. Yeah, let's see. 55 years ago today, I was really anxious. And of course, I spent the morning with my mother, she was always my best friend. And we had a little booth like they have in a restaurant. We had a little booth in our house, and she always made caramel rolls. And so she said, Missy, let's have our final breakfast together, you being single. So we sat down and we chatted and we talked, and it was just a precious time. But where were you at?
I was out pheasant hunting.
Yeah.
And
you were really worried about the day.
No, we had a good time out there pheasant hunting, and we came home, and I knew you were busier than a one-arm wallpaper hanger with a hive.
Did you really know? We were busy, and Mom and I were sitting there at this booth, and then after we had this roll and our Norwegian coffee, of course, and she looked at me and she just kind of gave me this look like, I looked at her like, ooh, I wonder what's next. What is she going to do? She gets up from the booth, goes to the counter, opens up the old white painted cupboard, and she brings out a plate. And I'm thinking, well, what does she need a plate for? And she walks over the sink and she throws it in, and it just shatters all over. And I look at her and I said, Mother, what is this all about? And she looked at me just very firm, very sweet, but very Norwegian firm. And she said, Missy, I'm breaking your plate. And I said, what do you mean you're breaking my plate? I'm breaking your plate of you because now when you get married, you belong to your husband, Larry, and you're always welcome here as you and Larry together. You're always welcome, and you and your family. But if you have any problems, you're not going to run home. You're going to solve them where you're at. And I thought, Mom, come on, please, please. But when I look back, that was probably the best advice, because I think a lot of times people want to just run away from their problems or leave their mate.
Yeah, well, there's one place where they were it was an attack on war. The commander commanded them to burn the boats that they got there with. Because if they were going to go home, they were going to go home in the enemy's boats.
Oh.
In other words, there was no backing out.
No backing out. No.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago when people got married, it was till death do us part.
Yes.
And they knew, like I said to Mom one day, and she'd been married probably 50 years at that point. And I said, Mom, with a family of 13, did you ever think about running away? And she looked at me and she said, Missy, oh yes, many times. I said, really? And I couldn't imagine my mother, this godly woman, so sweet, so kind. She didn't even think of running away. And she looked at me, she said, Missy, I always said, if a slow boat from China comes by my front porch, I will jump on. And I looked at her and I said, Mom, that chance of that happening, it's not going to happen. She said, well, then you don't have to worry because I won't be leaving anywhere. But it goes back to commitment again.
Yes, it does.
So wow, what a day. You were out hunting.
Yes.
I was with Mom and everything was going fine. I always vowed I wanted just a beautiful, quiet, peaceful wedding day, because I had helped with many weddings. I've been to many weddings where there were so many things that went wrong. And I said, God, please grant that to me. And I did have it.
Well, you told me you were planning your wedding when you were 8 years old.
Oh, of course. Yes. I was telling it last week. By the way, and I should repeat this again later, is that if you missed last week, please pull up and restream that, because we talked about how we met. So many people said, how did you meet? Where were you from? What was the story of your engagement? We share all of that on that. You'll laugh with us. You'll probably cry with us a little bit, but you'll see the reason why we're seated here today as a couple is because of what happened, what we shared last week on that video, on the Zoom, on our Coffee Connect Live. And so, you know, when I think back, everything went really good until about 5 o'clock at my house. And we were all getting ready. My dad, we had the tuxedos. And of course, I had, I think, like 6 or 7 of my brothers were part of the wedding party, and then and the sister-in-laws. And so everything was going fine. I was getting ready to go to the church, and I heard my dad holler downstairs, I'm not going to the wedding. And I'm saying, Dad, what do you mean? I hollered up in panic. What are you talking about? I am not going to wear this clown suit. I said, what do you mean a clown suit? And he says, I'm not going to wear this clown suit. And my heart just sunk, and I just almost went to tears. And I come running up the old staircase up to the upstairs, and I saw my dad. And yes, I did laugh. I literally laughed because he had a size 58 suit, and he was like a 40. And it literally he was just lost it. He could have fit in one leg of it and one arm of that suit. And we all just cracked up laughing. And the good thing is he had just bought a new suit for my other brother Glenn's wedding. And so he wore that. So that was good.
Turned out well.
Yeah, it turned out well.
Yeah.
So we were over at the Grace Lutheran Church in Sicily.
We had about 500 at the wedding.
Yeah, more people than we ever expected. My dream was really, I wanted a little white church out in the country with about 30 people. And I think, I don't know, because you were on the road and we had so many relatives, we had decided to have the Grace Lutheran Church. And I mean, people came, seriously, a lot of them came because they couldn't believe you and I were getting married because we were such rivals. But we fooled them all. We came together. But, you know, and what we shared last week was, I mean, the engagement was, you have to listen to the tape. The engagement was a little rough at times.
Yeah.
But you always told me, and he wanted to make sure that I wouldn't marry him to be on the platform or be on the stage. He did. But he always told me this. He says, Gloria, honey, when I say I do at the altar, I'm going to change. And I'm thinking, oh, dear Jesus, where do we go from here? But when we said our vows, and your brother Lowell married us, said our vows, and when you said I do, you totally changed for the good. Am I ever thankful?
Yes. So, you know, I'm glad that we were called as a team.
Yes, yes.
In other words, to pull together in the same harness, to pull the load, and we had different responsibilities way back then than we do now.
Yeah.
And so in these the times that we had, we're looking forward to the finishing well with our ministry.
Yes.
38 years and going.
Wow, it's hard to believe that it's that many years have gone by.
Yes.
I remember thinking that if we made it, well, because, you know, it was tough times. But, and we had so many friends that were getting divorced, but we had made a commitment because of our calling.
Yes.
We knew we were called. And, you know, when you're called to ministrate, you know, it's interesting because there's so many callings. You know, some are called to be missionaries, pastors.
Yes. We were out in Washington State, and I remember that, of course, we've always said on our programs that you attract people that are hurting. She can be in a grocery line. She'll have 3 people come up to her and just pour their lives out for no apparent reason. They just feel that from you, and they begin to share with you. But this couple was struggling in their marriage because the one had a calling of being a church administrator, and she had a calling of being a missionary. And
they had only been married 6 months.
Yeah.
And he come up to me and he said, he just tears in his eyes, and he said, Gloria, do you have a minute to talk? He said, I see you two ministering together. He said, that's been my dream. But he said, it's become a nightmare because he said, it's really an issue in our marriage. I said, well, what is that? And he said, she was called to be a missionary. I was called to be a church administrator. And I thought, well, all ministry is the same, so you blend them together. But he said, I found out that, he said, even in that.
Yeah.
Well, that it goes back to give and take,
Yeah.
you know, because with us, I felt like I was never going to be on the platform because you said I wouldn't be on the platform. But I come to the spot in myself, in my own heart, that I was going to be the support to you and to support and to help you. But with this guy, there was no give or take on either side. So that could be crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had a great, beautiful wedding.
We did.
And afterwards, we packed away all the gifts, and we were headed off to a long ways away from Sisseton, 45 miles for our first night.
In Wahpeton, and we had quite a journey that night.
Oh.
We left and we almost were hit by a drunk driver.
Yeah. My brother had borrowed his car, Glenn.
And that
didn't have a car.
No, that would have gone over well to bring it back with a wrecker.
Yeah, really.
And then we had 2 deer that just about knocked us off the road.
Yeah.
And
a drunk driver, you know, the grace of God, seriously. They were so drunk and they were trying to run us off, but God has brought us there safely.
Yeah.
And of course, with our no money pocketbooks, we got this cheap little place, and now it would look like nobody would stay there, not even the bed bugs. And the next morning when we woke up, and Larry's sitting at the edge of bed, and I went into bed and brushed my teeth and getting ready. And I hear him sneezing, and he's coughing, and he's sneezing, and he's coughing, and he's sneezing literally for almost an hour straight. And I remember coming out there, sitting in the bed and thinking, I waited my whole life to find the love of my life, and he's allergic to me. But it was actually your allergies.
It was my allergy. I still have them today. Matter of fact, down here in Nashville, there was a group of people that left here because of the fact that the allergies were so bad.
Yeah, when they all moved here, they left us Norwegians and the Swedes and Germans and whatever, the Dutch and whatever, to come here. But anyway, you know, we're going to continue this story in just a couple minutes. But Marnie, I want to turn it to you for just a minute, give them some information. Would you do that, please?
Absolutely. So we have some really fun things for you today. And if you want to restream this, one of the ways that you are able to do that is to go to the Facebook Live group here, and I'll have this pinned at the very top so that you can rewatch it from the beginning. Maybe you're jumping in now and you're like, what did they talk about before I got here? So go ahead and go to the beginning, and you can view from then. Or you can go to our website at www.larrylundstromministries.org and click on the CC Live big banner that is there, big picture, and that will take you to where this video will be uploaded. It might take a little bit longer today, but it will get up there. And then also a YouTube link, which I will end up posting as well.
It's going to be fun.
Yes, it is going to be fun. We're hoping to have a little surprise on there as well for you. So you're going to want to check it out on there.
Yes, when you get through the program, if you've known the Lundstroms or you're brand new, please contact 5 friends and say, listen, you found Larry and Gloria, you wandered, because I have people say, I didn't know you were still on the road, didn't know where you were, didn't know if you were dead or alive, didn't know if you were still in ministry, where's your family? Anyway, we share a lot of that. And so on the restreaming on the YouTube and on the website, there's going to be something extra special on there that you want to tune in that we couldn't put on the Zoom on our CCL today and our Coffee Connect Live, just because of the way all the technology works.
Yes.
And so, yeah. So that it's going to be exciting. You have to be sure and invite them and tell them to be sure and tune that in. And also, so I don't forget, because it's our 55th anniversary, we want to give you a gift. And I want to say it is stress-free. It is free. There's no strings attached. And because so many of you said, wow, we've lost track of you and your life on the road and what you've been sharing the last few weeks, I want to hear more of it. We have a book entitled For This Moment. And we're going to be, also we're going to send you free For This Moment book. And I've chosen that one. I had a choice on which you get, but I'm going to send you the For This Moment because we're going to be sharing an experience from that today. And also a free cookbook. And so if you look at that, you see this For This Moment. There are stories. You'll you'll ride the mountaintops with us. You'll walk the valleys. You'll smile with us. You might wipe a few tears, but you will see the faithfulness of God, that he has been with us all these 55 years. So Marnie's going to tell you in a little while where you can write in, and we're paying the postage. There's no cost for the 2 books or the postage. We've never done this, but we want to do that now, and we want you to enjoy it. And if you do want to receive our ministry letter, it has our schedule in it, has more stories like we've been doing on here every week. Just say newsletter, just write on there, or tell her newsletter. We'll put your name on. And if you don't want to be on anymore, you just write back, say, drop my name. We will not do anything with your name. We will honor you. We keep our word. But this is our gift to you, so you can catch up with us on the road for this moment to find out how faithful God has been.
You know, the Lundstrom schedule really was intense right after we got married.
Oh, wow.
We only had 3 days for a honeymoon.
Yeah, where'd we go?
Canada.
And we had probably just enough money for two hotel nights, literally.
Yeah.
And we went and visit our steel guitarist, his mom and dad.
Yeah.
They lived in Winnipeg, Canada.
Rick and Lil Simmons.
And so we stayed with Bill Simmons' parents for a night and came back on the 3rd night. And then you start packing that old beater of a bus.
Flex bus.
You had to be flexible to live in it.
That's right. That bus was a very expensive bus. We bought it for $1,500.
Oh boy. And you should have got back about $1,400.
You know, the people over at Coos Bay, Ernie Rose and a bunch of those people in Coos Bay, Oregon, they had on a Saturday, they brought out, must have been 15, 20 men. And they pulled that engine out, they overhauled it, they went through the bunch of stuff. And but we had a couple of things that we should have done differently.
But you didn't know any differently.
No, but we had hard copper tubing as an oil line. And when we crossed over after we were married, when we crossed over the railroad tracks, that snapped and we pumped all the oil out on the ground. We didn't know that and we had to go on. Then from that time at a 56
Oh my. So we're married on a Saturday night, came back on a Tuesday night or Wednesday night. And so I was packing our few belongings, which didn't take long because Larry had 2 suits, 3 Dectaline shirts. Dectaline was like a soft wash and wear shirt.
It wasn't hard to iron.
No. And he had like about 20 handkerchiefs that he had some dear old ladies put his initials in the corners so they wouldn't disappear. And about 12 bottles of Aqua Velva. Well, maybe you remember the Aqua Velva. If you're over 40, you'd remember that.
I got a good deal on it.
Yeah, you're the one to get a good deal. And so I was packing this. I was going to pack all this stuff in. Larry went to bed. It was late. I walked out of the old farmhouse, his parents' house, went out to get into the old Flex bus, and I couldn't get in. There was a button on the front, but I couldn't push the button. So I thought I'll go back and get Larry. He'll come out and he'll help me. The front door of the farmhouse locked. Everybody's sound asleep and they all snore. So they all drown each other out. So I'm picking up rocks and I'm throwing rocks at the window up there. And I finally got one of them to wake up from the knock on the window, come and let us in. And then we headed off. And it's 2 weeks later, we were in Minnesota. We had left like on that Thursday right away for services. Brand new, on our honeymoon. And the old bus engine blew up. And here we were in, where were we?
Newfoundland, Minnesota.
Newfoundland, Minnesota. And here we were, no motor, no go, no motor, no go, no money to go.
And from your parents, they decided to to buy a GMC modern updated engine and put it in.
Yes.
And so that took a long time for them to get over.
And I had worked at a bank and I had saved some money for us for a rainy day. And I found out this was the rainy day. So I put the money into motor to get it going. But we were without that bus for over 6 weeks.
Yeah.
We traveled in an old car. They had the windows. There were 2 windows that were taped up shut with plastic that somebody had borrowed to us. And we had two couples, 2 children, like 3 guitars inside, diaper bags, everything else. And away we went. And then 6 weeks later, we pulled into Springfield, Missouri. And we were all shocked. I mean, this was emotional, 6 of us in one little motel room every night, newlyweds being married just, about a week or 2 weeks. And we pulled into this church to set up for the church the next day. And I remember your brother Lowell saying, can't do it anymore. We're not going to live like this. We can't handle it. We physically can't make it. So we're going to travel 5 months and we'll be home, we'll be home 5 months and we'll just keep kind of doing that. Guess what? 45 years later, we were still 11 months on the road.
Yes. After all these years on the road, which is getting close to 60, this is the first year that we've really been legally shut down. We haven't been able to go out and do rallies, but we have used this Coffee and Connect to stay in contact. And friends are communicating with us, they're writing back.
People that we haven't talked to in years,
Yes.
people who came to Christ in our ministry and their children come to Christ.
That's always a thrill to hear people. And they say, the Bible says, I would that you bear much fruit and that your fruit should remain. And when they share with us so many of their loved ones that have come to Christ and they're continually serving the Lord to this day, something that maybe happened 30 years ago, as well as 30 weeks ago.
Yes. Well, we got that old bus, and then of course our children were being born. Lone County had Londa and Lisa, and then we had LaShawn, and we was in this old flex bus, and literally Larry and I had the back room because they wanted to give the newlyweds a private room. You can imagine what it looked like in the 48 flex bus, and it was all paneling and whatever. And it was a propane heat in there. What was it?
Yeah, it was propane.
Propane little heater in there, but that couldn't even keep itself warm because that was like 3 feet from us. But when it snowed, there was a snowbank on the foot of our bed. So we had all these quilts we'd put on us. And then when the kids were born, it wasn't any better. So we literally, now this is really crazy and it's the truth, but remember that old chicken wire, they had the plastic on it? I don't know what they called that. And it was plastic. And anyway, we put that over the windows in the old bus.
Tried to keep the draft down.
Try to keep the draft out of there. And it was so cold. And our kids loved their little glasses of water at night. And we put them in snow suits.
Yes.
With little caps and gloves and boots on to keep them warm, and just wrap the scarf around their neck, hid them in their little beds. And it would be so cold that by morning, the water was crystallized. Wow.
And this flex bus happened to have a back door to it. And that back door had bad weather stripping on it. So you wake up in the morning, you're going to have a foot of snow at the foot of your bed.
Yeah, nothing like having a snowbank on your bed. So, I mean, it was really, and then I think about our, of how we grew up there and how we just, at the time you wonder when you look back, you say, how did we do it? But we were called. Yeah. We didn't think about how getting out of it. We thought about how we stay in there. And I guess things haven't changed much ever since. But God was always with us. We had our children in there with us, and then they began to learn instruments, and Londa was beginning piano, and Lisa was singing, and LaShawn got old enough, and when she was 2, she was singing the song He Touched Me, and then LaDawn was born, and LJ, and I mean, it just goes on, and then Donovan and Lance, and I mean, they just kept multiplying, and the group kept getting bigger, and then it went from one flex bus to...
Well, I'll just tell them the one experience that we would have those that would come on in ministry with us, but they had no experience. And so this one particular member of the team, he was driving down the road, and the thing is with the older buses like that, they had no good brakes at all. They had no brakes.
Are you sure there were even any brakes?
No,
we prayed a lot.
And I remember we were riding down the road, and this member was driving the bus, and Lowell was sitting on one side and I was sitting on the other side, And we looked up, we couldn't believe, because he was kicking along about 65 mile an hour, and he was going to take the ramp off, and we looked up and all we could see is the tail lights of the parked cars ahead of us. And Lowell flew out over, and he took his foot and went down on top of the brake pedal with the guy that was driving, slammed it down. I reached over the side of the guy that was driving, and we had one of those old emergency brakes that would come down on the flywheel in the back, and I pulled up on that lever, and we stopped 6 inches from the car in front of us. And
I mean, that was close enough.
yeah,
That was close enough. I mean, we had a lot of close calls, but you know what? The faithfulness of God. Like that one night, we left Sisseton and we were heading towards Iowa, I think. And we got down, I don't know where we were, but we were on this beautiful new interstate that they had just opened.
yes.
And the gate was open. We took off just sailing down there with our newer coaches. And I thought, boy, sure got dark in a hurry down the end of that road. And
That was going to be that was on 90 going east, and we were taking that road, and we had a trailer behind us.
yeah,
And we looked, and all of a sudden I saw a trailer with bales on it. And I looked over to the right, and there was a whole bunch of stuff over on the right. And all of a sudden I looked ahead, and here it was coming. The interstate ended.
just boom, there was no road.
There was no,
And
no
we were
road.
sailing along.
And I got that one stopped in just the nick of time. But now tell me how you turn. This one happened to be a 40-foot bus with a trailer behind it. You got to turn it around on 2 lanes.
You did it. You only your years experience did you make
That was
that.
the old farm time.
Oh yeah,
farm.
really.
Yeah.
You know, and I think back of God, how faithful He's been to protect us. I can't remember what year it was. We were in Montana coming home from Washington State, coming through Montana. We were going up in the mountains. It was December.
Oh, this was
It had to
probably,
have been 83.
no, it wouldn't have been 83. It'd have been, well, yeah, we
Something
were on,
like that,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was.
It's about
it
that
was.
time. Tell them what we were running
Well,
into.
we were climbing up. It was late at night, and I took the wheel because in the mountains, I wanted to make sure that I was there to drive.
Yeah. You didn't want any inexperienced drivers in the
And
mountains.
we were, it was heavy snow coming down.
It was beautiful.
But we didn't realize that as we continued to elevation of going up that mountain, that the snow had turned into sleet. And when the front wheels of the coach we wasn't going any faster than a walk. When we go over the front wheels where the weight shifted to the downward side, I touched the brake and we were actually picking up speed. We were on black ice.
And it was thousands of feet down to the right.
No guardrails.
guardrails.
On either side.
Thousands of feet down the left.
Yeah. And I think I hollered back at you. I said, honey, we're in trouble.
And you say, you better pray. And I'm thinking, well, really? When I saw that became really natural.
And then I tried my best to keep it, but the trailer started doing the whip on the back. The trailer was moving whip from one side, then a whip to the other side, and looked like the bus was going to go off to the mountain, off the side of the mountain.
All the way down.
All the way down. And every time we'd get to the edge to go off, we'd hear the thud.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It was just like a thud, like a slap on the side of the coach.
Yeah. And we got to the bottom, and I remember you were in tears, and you said, honey, let's park this thing till spring.
That's exactly. And I meant it. I said, just park this thing till spring. I don't care. We're not going anywhere. But we did. We drove into Bozeman, Montana. And I knew it was a Saturday, and I always called my mom on a Saturday. It's all we could afford at the time. And so I give her a call. So I called and I said, hi, Mom. And the first thing she said to me was, Missy, how were the roads last night? And I broke down crying. She said, Missy, before you say anything, let me tell you what happened here. She said, I was in bed, sound asleep. And she said, the Holy Spirit woke me up with this urgency to pray. And she said, I knew it was somebody in the family. So I began to pray. Well, guess what? With 13 in the family and a lot of their children, I have 5 older than me and 5 younger. So it took a while for my mom to get to us. So she said, I just went down the line. I began to pray for each one in the family. And when I came to you and Larry and the family, she said it was just like a big movie screen. I saw your bus, she called it a bus. I saw your bus between 2 deep ravines. And then she kind of hesitated. She said, you know what I saw, Missy? I said, what? She says, there was a band of angels on either side of your coach. And the coach was just ready to go off the side on one side, and the angels would stand back and slap the side of the coach and stand back and laugh. And your coach would go to the other side. And just when he was ready to go off that side, this band of angels would slap the side of the bus, and they would stand back, they put their heads back, and they would laugh. She said, all the way down the mountain. And I said, Mom, that's exactly what happened. That was angels that guided us.
I actually went out and looked to see if there was dents.
Yeah, really. I mean, the thuds were so loud, you wondered if there would have been dents in the side of that. But you talk about God's grace. I mean, we could spend days talking
the whole
about His
family
grace.
would have been wiped out in that one event.
Yes, everything. God was just so good. And you know, when I think about God was good to bring us through from the very beginning, I mean, a lot of times people look at you and they say, you must be nice, you just travel, you look nice, nice clothes, you sit there and smile. That doesn't mean we don't have any problems. That doesn't mean we've not been through it or gone through it.
You've had some real severe health problems.
Yes, but guess what?
Yes.
I'm still going.
Still clicking.
Yes, I'm still clicking. That's the Norwegian blood in me. My mother says we never give up. And you know what? When I think about it, speaking of that, my mom, there are times when I was in the hospital several times with really sent away to die, and different times with strep throat that I nearly died, and it were just numerous times. And when I get out, you would almost wish that your mother would say to you, Missy, I think you should stay home. I think this is too hard for you. You need to stay home. Live a normal life, whatever that is. But she never said that. She always looked at me and said, Missy, if God called you, He'll keep you. Now take care of yourself because nobody else can.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying.
You're doing well.
But you do good. You take good care of me. You take good care. But we think about how we went with your bout with cancer, me given 3 days to live, miscarriages, and nervous breakdowns. My, oh my. I think we're doing pretty good for what we've been through. I sent a picture over to my daughter LaDawn last night, and it shows this angel face down, and its wings are clear out, and they're just literally tattered. And it's just, this angel is just collapsed. And then on the bottom of it, I wrote, LaDawn, this is our angels at the end of the day. And I just picture our guardian angel saying in the morning when I always pray, God, I ask you to commission your angels out to my children. I name each one in the family, LaShawn, LaDawn, Donovan, Dante, Mayana, Taryn, Nova, Liam, Nicole. I name everybody. And I just say, God commissioned. And so then I think about it. I said to LaDawn, I said, this is our angels probably look at us in the morning and say, oh no, not them again. Please, they wear me out. And we probably do wear them out. But God is faithful.
He is.
He has been
There's
so faithful.
angels waiting to be commissioned to go.
Yes. That is so great.
Yeah.
It all goes back to why we are seated here. And we could go on for days,
I was
But the calling.
thinking today, Amy Barrett is being on television now. She's being questioned and all that for the Supreme Court nomination. And I thought, we were called with a lifetime commitment. God's gifts and callings are without repentance. And we've been called, and he says, if we've been called, he will provide for our calling. And we've had wonderful, we sit there when we're praying over the the names that have supported our ministry through the years. When we praying for those in the morning, we sit there and we just shake our heads. We were talking about one this morning that's been with us for the full 38 years, has been behind us and been the fuel tank for the ministries to keep going. There's goers and then there's senders. Many are called, but few are chosen to go. But there's lots of senders, and these farmers, there's all these different occupations that have taken part of their ministry to join our ministry.
And I said,
for
you
the
know,
souls.
what we were saying this morning was that we have been so blessed. We've been so blessed. I can't even tell you how blessed we've been. God has always taken care of us. And you've heard me say over and over, and I've told the people over and over for years, if you're always grateful and thankful, you will always have something to be grateful and thankful for. And that's the reason why we're seated here, is that God is so good. And we look forward to the future. We're not sure what it is or when, but we're never going to stop. It's just what kind of ministry it is. So this has been really, really exciting. So 55 years and we're still going to be going. And I hope that you will write in, please. That's our gift to you. We want you to write in and ask for the free $55, not $55, 55th anniversary gift. It costs nothing to you. We're paying for the book, the cookbook, and we're also paying for the postage, because that's our gift to you. Only thing we ask is, if you want to get our monthly newsletter, and many of you do that are tuning into us, and there's stories, there's recipes, there's poems. Larry has a message, I do speak to the heart. And so there's all kinds of things. And if you want to receive it, no pressure, just put on their newsletter. And if any time you don't want it anymore, just send a note back and say, drop my name. But this way, so many of you have asked if we could please get your newsletter again to keep up with you and the family and the pictures.
Yes.
So that we can do it. Marnie, you want to tell them again? By the way, well, I still have it. Next week, we have special guests are going to be here. It's going to be Marnie and her husband, Kirk, who are senior pastors of Christian Outreach in Sisseton, South Dakota. And here they are, and they have a story to tell. Let me tell you, I get so tickled. I'm going to tell you how we met, how they met, how we got together. Marnie, she's been with us for 20 some years. And it's going to be exciting, because I'm going to learn some new things about your marriage. I'm going to put you on
I'm
the
sure.
spot. Yes, I'm going to put you on the spot. You and Kirk, I can hardly wait. And
Right.
it's been a delight. You've challenged
Yes.
hundreds of young people and couples, and married so many couples. So you have a lot of insight. And you said one time, we're different personalities, and which Larry and I are different, but we're the same. We're both crazy. I love it. But it
Yes.
works. So Marnie, do you want to just tell them where they can tune in and get the books?
Yes, absolutely. So if you are interested in the books or being put on the newsletter, there's a few ways you can do that. One of those is you can go ahead and private message me on Facebook, and just go ahead and put your address in there, and then also let me know if you want to be put on the newsletter. Another way that you can do that is you can email us and just mention that you want it. And the email is llmin@venturecom.net, and that is VENTURECOMM.net. So 2 M's at the end of there. Another way that you can do it is you can give us a call at 605-698-7007. I just ask that you wait till we're done with the Coffee and Connect Live, because I won't be able to answer the phone. So just give us a call. You can even leave it on our answering machine if we're not here. And those are ways that you can go ahead and get that. Also, just if you want to, like we said, restream this, it will be pinned to the top of the Facebook group. It will be on our website, and it will also be on YouTube in a little while.
So if you have friends that know the Lundstroms, send them an email, send them a text, do whatever, and give them a phone call and say, hey, you got to tune this in, because you want to keep up and find out what's been going on in Larry and Gloria's life. And we'll continue week by week telling you some more because we do have some questions that people had asked. And I'll just going to answer one of them this morning before we close. And it says, I'm curious to know of the update on Lowell's family and Leon's family. And Lowell and Connie both passed away, was it 8 years ago now? Yeah. 8 years ago. Lowell had heart complications and Parkinson's, and Connie died with stomach cancer. Londa is pastoring the church in the Minneapolis area. Lisa is there in Minneapolis. LJ is out there on the farm, the little cowboy. He's farming, and he has horses and dogs, and he loves it, and plus his golfing. And Lance is in Peru with his wife Paola and their son Nico, and he has his own business over there of photography and all kinds of stuff. And Leon's family, he has his Larissa, who is writing music, and she's in Minneapolis, and she and Leon both are working with the Gospel Opry, and they bring in great special guests, and they've been shut down now for a little bit, but they'll start again soon. And Larissa's a songwriter and singing at different concerts, and Lindsay is a mom, and she has a beautiful family of all these
6 boys.
6 boys. Wow, her hands are full. They just moved to Florida. She and her husband Jamie, and then you have Lacey, who is just a ball of fire. She is just delightful. She has her own business, and her husband has a barbecue business, and they have 3 beautiful children, red hair, and just delightful, and they're all just doing really good. And our daughter LaShawn is driving for Hemphill. She drives star coaches, where she drives stars all over the U.S. from coast to coast. LaDawn is working for a phone company here. She's a vice president of a company. And Donovan is working here in Nashville. And so in our grandkids, Mayana she's working at a clinic. And Dante, can you believe he's 28, I think. And he's here in between. He's looking for a job. And so everybody's up and going. We're just still praying. And LaShawn's husband, Liam, is right now, he's home. And he's taking a break, and so there's a lot of Lundströms.
The reason he's taking a break, there's so many groups off the road. They no longer have
There's no jobs.
There's no concerts. There's no big. So it kind of puts them out of business for a little bit until it fires back up.
Yeah. So we're praying for jobs for our family too. So that's kind of an update on that, and we'll answer more of them at another time. And but thank you for tuning in. Please. Tune in. Even if you watch this today, there's going to be something special that you want to see.
We have
our video.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you wanted me to
Marnie,
go ahead and do that.
How could you let this old person forget that?
I was waiting.
Oh, listen, this is a delight. You've got to watch this. This is the traveling song, the most requested song of ours that we put pictures to. And it's 5 minutes to put on your seatbelt, put on your hearing aids, or listen closely, watch the pictures, and travel with us from 1965 to today.
Our song begins in 1957. For that was the year the Lundströms found the Lord. Since then, we have traveled to every part of the United States and Canada with the gospel. Gloria and I were married in 1965, and since that time, we've had a lot of experiences. A lot of excitement, some of them you would never believe.
Well, I believe because I was there.
One night, Lowell was in the back of the bus writing a song. Lowell would always joke and say, "How can you write a song when Larry's driving the bus?" Well, he said one thing for sure, is you certainly feel close to God.
Amen.
About 50 years ago in South Dakota, the Lundströms knelt in prayer to God one night. There the Savior sent us with a message that we should sing about eternal life. We've been rolling down that long, lonesome highway, traveling to help our fellow man. And we'll keep traveling on, singing a happy song until we hear God's call in glory land. believe all that has happened?
Oh, yeah.
Like fixing flats in the middle of the night.
Oh, many.
Getting stuck in mud up to the axle.
Oh, man.
Once I hit a cow with a bus, oh, what a sight. We've been rolling down that long, lonesome highway, traveling to help our fellow man. And we'll keep traveling on, singing a happy song until we hear God's call to glory land.
Larry, I remember you telling me about a tour to California. In fact, that was before we got married. Something about the brakes on the old bus going out.
Well, those old buses never had good brakes.
Oh, man, and you were driving down a steep mountain pass. I can't even imagine. I'm glad I wasn't there. You better tell him about it.
We never will forget old California, when the brakes on the bus failed on a mountain pass. We never thought we'd ever live to tell it, 'cause everything was a-happening so fast. We've been rolling down that long, lonesome highway, traveling to help our fellow man. And we'll keep traveling on, singing a happy song until we hear God's call to glory land. We've met a lot of friends in all our travels.
We're so blessed.
We know their prayers have helped us stay alive.
We're so thankful.
So if you ever feel impressed to mention my name, then you know it's my turn to cry. We've been rolling down that long, lonesome highway, traveling to help our fellow man. And we'll keep traveling on, singing a happy song until we hear God's call to glory land. And we'll keep traveling on, singing a happy song until we hear God's call to glory land.
And that's our family, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure and call somebody and say, hey, share the Larry and Gloria want to share this 55th anniversary story with you. All right, have a wonderful, wonderful week, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.